Welcome to Squadron Scale Workshop. My name is Brett Green. I've just had another interesting delivery on the doorstep. In fact, it's arrived so recently I hadn't even opened the box. So I think I've got an idea of what's in here, and I think it'll be pretty interesting to some of you out there. So let's open the cardboard box and see if I've been correct in my assumption. Australia Post Express. We're still getting local deliveries here. And yes, it is what I expected. It is the Werk Yonkers EF126/127 fighter aircraft. Now, this was a design. It looks quite fanciful when you see it on the box, but it was a genuine design. And the EF126 was designed to be powered by a single Argus pulse jet engine. The Germans didn't actually get one into the air before the end of the war, but shortly after the end of the war, the Soviets did actually build one and fly it. So it was close to being in full service, and it's certainly in no way kind of more fanciful than some of the aircraft that did actually enter service with the Luftwaffe in that last year of the war. The EF126 with its pulse jet was then developed into the EF127, which was going to be powered by a Volta rocket engine similar to the ME163. And an interesting sort of variation on a theme, Werk have also offered the option of a two-pulse jet version of this aircraft. I'm not sure if that was part of the Luftwaffe design or if that's a little bit of extrapolation by Werk. Werk's an interesting company. They've produced mostly military vehicles, but a few interesting late war artillery pieces and also Luftwaffe 46 style rockets. I think this is the first actual aircraft though. Well, let's cut off the clear plastic covering. This will be, once again, just a quick unboxing video. We'll have a look at the contents over the next 10 minutes or so, and then later in the week I'll take some high resolution images and write up a more detailed review. But in the meantime, the box is quite sturdy, which is good. Top opening, which I always prefer. And it looks like all the sprues are in separate bags, which it's probably not ecologically the best thing, but I prefer it from the point of view of not scuffing plastic. Let's have a look at what we have. So this looks like the main sprue. As I mentioned, they're in individual bags. Are they resealable? They are. So let's take a look at what we have in here. So we have what appear to be the wings, quite simple. We've got ailerons and flaps that are moulded in neutral positions. Tailplane surfaces, we've got the nose and a tail there. That looks like it's a tail for the EF127 rocket-powered version. I've got to say, I'm not wild about the recessed kind of scallops that they've used for their fabric control surfaces. I think I would like to see either strips or something a little bit better defined than that. But the surface detail on things like the forward fuselage are really nice. Have a look at some of that raised bolt head detail, as well as the various panels and recessed panel lines. So that's all looking very good. The other thing to point out is that we have mounts that are actually moulded to the rear fuselage, that would be for the rocket-assisted takeoff packs. So if you wanted to build one without the RATO, then you got a little bit of work in front of you. Next we have these are all quite large sprues, by the way. I should have mentioned too, I didn't before, this is a 32nd scale kit, so it's a decent size, quite a decent size. And here we have an alternative rear fuselage, presumably for the Argus PulseJet version. We have tailplane services. They look very similar to the Heinkel 162 tailplanes, these ones, as well as the underwing salvo rockets, and we have the two PulseJet units here as well. So all the detail once again here looks very nice. It's interesting, the rear fuselage, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, the rear fuselage seems to have oil canning effect, which is quite nice on there. So that'll be interesting once the model's painted. The third large sprue that we have here contains right. So we have a handling dolly, ground handling dolly. They're the rocket-assisted takeoff units. I presume this is actually also something to do with the handling dolly. There's a very Heinkel HE162 style seat there for the ejector seat. We also have landing gear parts, the wheels, raised detail maybe a little more pronounced than some people would like, probably myself included. And we had the rockets themselves. But once again, the moulding of these parts are very, very nice indeed. And a little bit of sanding will tame the raised radial ribs on those main wheels as well. The hub detail's very nice though, so they're probably worth working on a little bit. The final plastic sprue are the clear plastic parts that are on a smaller sprue. So we have here 3 parts for the canopy, so we can obviously pose the canopy open, and also a gun sight there too. The clear plastic parts look really nice. There's no centerline seam on the windscreen or the opening section, so there's a little work you've saved yourself there. I will pop that back in the bag though, because I don't want to A, lose the parts, or B, scratch them. Next in the box we have the Deckle Shade. So the rule with this Deckle Shade will be anything you want, because the thing was never actually flown by the Luftwaffe. If you want to build it in Luftwaffe markings, then really take your cue from a Heinkel HE162 or a Messerschmitt ME163 and go from there. But it looks like Das Werk has given us a very nice start with some really interesting options. As I mentioned before, they obviously have the same thought, because we've got a number of HE162 style markings there. You can use arrows and bands and bits and pieces as well. And there are some Soviet markings on there too. They've also, very interestingly here, as well as stencil markings that they've provided at the top of the deckle sheet there, they have also included, you see those tiny little markings just below the main decals? I believe they are stencil marks on the bare metal of aircraft. So if you decide to finish your Yonkers 126 in a bare metal scheme, you'll be able to actually use those stencil marks on the outside, which will be quite interesting. I've seen those on the inside of the fuselage of a Messerschmitt 262. Sorry about that, folks. The battery just went flat. So much for a one-take unboxing video. But the only thing left in the box now is the instruction book. I would say booklet, except this is actually a very substantial 40-page document here. I've been impressed by Dustworks' instructions in previous releases, and this one certainly doesn't disappoint either. I love the tea staining, the aging of the paper, and we have the full sprue breakdown, as well as instructions that are provided with a preface showing the various options that you can build this in, what configuration. So, oh, I see. So it looks like there are actually two. There's a trolley and there's a cradle. So the flat rectangle that I showed you before wasn't part of the handling dolly. It was actually a cradle, I presume, for factory floor and maintenance, that sort of thing. And some very nice diagrams in here too for the various stages of instruction. You would have to say reminiscent of wing-up wings in style and execution. And yes, all the various options and heaps of suggestions as to what you can do with your model in terms of camouflage and markings. So, including bare metal and wood. So it looks like the wings must have been wood, plywood, and the fuselage was metal. So you'll be able to use some of those lovely little tiny stencil decals if you want to drive yourself mad. So very nice. Just in summary, I would say this looks like a very interesting kit. If you're a fan of Luftwaffe 46, then you'll be licking your lips at this one. It's a little ripper. The detail looks very nice. The quality of the moulding is excellent. The only thing I'm a little bit wary about is the surface texture of the fabric control surfaces, but that will be easy enough to address with some putty and some sanding anyway. No, it's a really, really interesting project. Well, that's all we have today from Squadron Scale Workshop. I'm Brett Green. Bye for now.